Jackie Bird. She was the one who gave me the bone marrow transplant.
Save a life while you can in your lifetime.
I want to welcome you all to the Emerging Leaders Series. Some of you, I am re-welcoming you. We just began our series with our Instant Apprentice Luncheon. My name is Christopher Cobbs. I'm the Program Associate for Economic Development in the Department of Research and Programs at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. This is my second year serving on the Emerging Leaders Strategic Development Team, alongside Jeanette Carter, who's joined us over there in the purple, and Dr. Ivory Tolson, who's our Senior Research Analyst. And I must say that I truly believe it to be divine providence that throughout this process, I was able to meet and work alongside such driven and dynamic individuals who are dedicated to the empowerment and uplift of young people of color. It's absolutely awe-inspiring to witness the growth in this series over the past year, which kind of leads me to today, because we've worked diligently to provide you with the tools, access, and atmosphere for fostering and growing your personal success. But if you don't understand how to use those tools or take the time to learn how to use them, then your situation will remain unchanged as if the day before you came to the conference. So with that, I encourage and implore you to take full advantage of the sessions, receptions, and conversations that you will encounter throughout this weekend. Because every experience, regardless of how seemingly minute that you will encounter during this time, is a chance and an opportunity for you to grow into the person that you're supposed to be. But I'm gonna step off my soapbox. I would like to begin today's session by thanking Hyundai for their generous contribution and support to the foundation and our mission. And we're going to have a few remarks from the Director of Government Relations and Diversity Outreach, Mr. Zafar J. Brooks.
I didn't plan for any remarks, but thank you so much. It's always good to be here. I'm a sales guy who's never seen a mic he wouldn't like. So it's good to be here. First of all, my name is Zafar Brooks. I'm from Hyundai Motor America, and as was said, I'm in charge of government relations and diversity for the company. And we are absolutely proud and pleased to be here with you at the CBCF Foundation. This is our third consecutive year supporting not only the CBCF, but also supporting the program for scholarships. So today, on behalf of Hyundai and our 5,000 U.S. colleagues, I'm proud to present to the foundation a check in the amount of $40,000 to support the Fellows Program and the continued great work. So if I could make this presentation.
Receiving this check is Dr. Lynn Jennings. She is our manager of the Leadership Institute for Public Service. Let's give another round of applause for Hyundai, please. I would now like to welcome today's moderator, Dr. Alana Hackshaw, whom I've had the pleasure of working alongside most recently on the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act resource guide that the foundation generated as a resource for African Americans, which kind of focused on key provisions of the guide. Basically, we condensed this immense bill of 600 plus pages down to 24, which is available on our website and outside the store. Plug. But Alana Hackshaw is a senior research and policy analyst at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. She plays a key role in advancing the foundation's research and outreach initiatives that focus on economic security, wealth building among African Americans. So I will let Dr. Alana Hackshaw come to the stage.
Thank you, Chris, for your comments and your introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Urbanomics, Making Money in a Trickle-Up Economy. Today we have a panel of talented and successful people from diverse sectors of our economy who are ready to offer and it share advice about how to survive and thrive in our current economic climate. What I'd like to do is just give you a background for how we conceptualize this panel. And the first is that we all know that we are currently dealing with a financial crisis in this country. We're in one of the worst economic crises that we've experienced since the Great Depression. And so I, like you, and many other young professionals, perceive that our economic futures are a little more fragile and a little more uncertain relative to generations past. Many of us are concerned about keeping our jobs. Some of us are unemployed. Some of us want to know how to build wealth and grow our money. And many of us also want to know how to hold a steady job and maybe start a business of our own as well. And so I know that's why many of you are here today. The other concept behind this panel is that we are all aware that we're currently under a new presidential administration that has challenged traditional theories that a trickle-down economy, or the assumption that wealth at the top will trickle down to the rest of us and foster economic progress. We're kind of challenging that traditional theory and maybe taking a test of whether or not the concept of a trickle-up economy, or the idea that perhaps if wealth is more distributed widely among the masses, the population, that this economic progress will trickle up and trickle out so that we can have a more competitive economy. So today, we have representatives from the federal government, we have a small business owner and entrepreneur, we have a consultant and entrepreneur, and we also have a representative from the financial industry who are here to give us tips so that we can create a roadmap for our own personal success, economic success, that is. So without further ado, I'd like to present our panelists. Our first panelist today is Maggie Anderson, and she is the co-founder and CEO of the Empowerment Experiment, a project in which she and her family committed to living off Black businesses for an entire year. And this was in Chicago, Illinois, right? Okay. Maggie is an accomplished strategy professional with 12 years of legal, research, communications, and business strategy experience. A former strategy manager and speechwriter for C-suite executives at McDonald's, she's a respected leader in the Chicago business community. Thank you for being here, Maggie. We also have here Mr. Derek M. Boyd, who is a senior financial advisor and vice president of global wealth management at Merrill Lynch. He specializes in providing comprehensive investment, wealth management solutions, trading solutions, and strategic planning to high net worth individuals. Mr. Boyd also heads a wealth management team that oversees $300 million in assets. Mr. Boyd has served in the financial services industry since 1995. We also have here today Ms. Natalie Cofield, who's president of NMC Consulting Group, a consulting firm that specializes in business development, public affairs, and program management. She is a public speaker, a television personality, a presenter, and academic lecturer on topics of business and economic and community development. Ms. Cofield is a commissioner of the DC Commission for Women and an advocate for entrepreneurship among women, youth, and African Americans. We also have here today Ms. Shannon Leon, who is a dynamic and young entrepreneur from Atlanta, Georgia. Her business achievements include ownership in Hampton Inn and Marriott Courtyard properties. She also owns a television and film production investment company, as well as several commercial buildings. Additionally, Ms. Leon is the sole proprietor of a Cold Stone Creamery in Atlanta and co-owner of Breathless Printing and Breathless Publishing. I don't think I'm allowed to say your age, but I think she's under 30, so that's pretty impressive. We also have with us Mr. Jason McCall, who is the current Special Assistant to the National Director at the Minority Business Development Agency, which is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. Mr. McCall served as the Director of Special Projects for the Obama for America National Campaign and was appointed by President Obama to be the Chief Advisor to the agency's National Director on Programs and Initiatives for the Minority Business Development Agency. Mr. McCall is a native of Washington, D.C. Okay, so what we're going to do today is have about 40 minutes where I'm going to ask our talented panelists here to share some of their insight and advice with you. I'm going to ask them some questions, but also what we're going to do after that is give you an opportunity to talk to them for about 30 minutes where you can ask questions and offer comments. So I'm going to start with my first question, if I can find it. 1 second. Okay. So starting with Ms. Anderson, I'm just going to ask each of you to take 3 to 5 minutes to just tell us a little bit more about your background and make some brief comments about where you perceive the economic opportunities exist for young professional African Americans.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Unlike my distinguished colleagues here, I am, in terms of what's represented here, just a consumer. But we're all consumers. And what my project is representing, the empowerment experiment, is the power that African American consumers have to change the way our communities look, to improve the amount of role models our children have, and to give hope to Black business. I have a JD and an MBA from the University of Chicago. My husband, the other half of the empowerment experiment, has his BA in economics from Harvard, and he has an MBA from Kellogg. We were both successful business professionals, did our stints in corporate America, and the empowerment experiment was conceived when living that wonderful life that we earned with all those fantastic degrees and having those 6-figure wonderful jobs. We were having our anniversary dinner, and we spent hundreds of dollars at that anniversary dinner at a beautiful posh restaurant in downtown Chicago. That whole dinner, we had the conversations that folks like us have all the time. What are we going to do about what's going on in our community? Our kids being pushed into gangs instead of college. Our communities looking the way they look, boarded up, barred up. What are we going to do? And then we paid the bill. And that's when we realized that we were part of the problem that we were talking so much about trying to fix. None of our money went to Black businesses. So, after that dinner, we kept talking and we did nothing. And then my mother got sick, and she was given a month to live. And I decided then we have to do something. We made our pledge to completely live off of Black business and talent for an entire year. We decided to make that pledge public with the hopes that the media would follow us and that we'd have a platform to talk about the plight of Black business and the potential for economic empowerment in our community. Our project is now 8 months old. We've been living off Black business since January 1st, and we've been covered in every major media news outlet, and it just grows and grows. MSNBC, CNN, Time Magazine, Fox News, Situation Room, CBS News, we're in Black Enterprise this month, Tom Joyner, all the other big radio programs. Everyone's talking about the empowerment experiment, about this family, and not just about us, about the hope we represent for a new movement in our community to support our businesses and economically empower our people. Thank you.
Mr. Boyd?
I guess I'm next. Hello, how are you this afternoon? All right, well, hello. Now, I'm born and raised in Baltimore City. Yes, home of the Wire, and no, the whole city is not that bad. Those are the two questions that normally follow. For the last 14 years, I've spent my time assisting individuals, business owners, nonprofit organizations with their strategic planning, their goal setting, and their investment strategies. And I, too, am an entrepreneur, as we say on CNBC. When you start my business, basically they give you a phone book, and a pat on the back. You know, all of the assets that my partner and I have gathered over the years have been through our entrepreneurship, our going out, pounding doors, and making relationships and networking, which are a lot of things I'm sure we're going to discuss today. And part of the reason we're here today is that we are in tumultuous times. You know, unemployment's rising, foreclosures at all-time high. Businesses, banks are failing on a daily basis, and the market is down. Even though I've tried to keep it up personally, just to let you know, the market's still down. And we're in a recession. And a recession, by definition, is two consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, and which means that things are slowing down. And I don't think it takes me to tell you that things are slowing down. But in a recession is where millionaires are birthed. It's where entrepreneurs, out of necessity, a lot of times are born. And it's where a lot of billion-dollar companies got their start. In the 50s, which was a recessionary period, you had Burger King and the high hotel company start. In the 70s, another recessionary period, you had FedEx, you had a little computer company called Microsoft get its start. And then even the granddaddy of all companies, which is GE, got its start in 1873 1876 during the Panic of 1873, which was a 6-year recessionary period. So we can see out of, out of ashes something can rise. So I'm here to tell you that this too shall pass. And my message today is really, from a financial standpoint, it's a great time to get back to the basics. I know we have a range of age groups, some of you just starting, some of you in the middle, some of you towards the end, but it's never bad to go back to the basics. And if you don't have a good foundation, build a good foundation. So we'll talk about, doing a budget, how much money's coming in, going out, looking at your credit, repairing, pulling all 3 reports, and you have to embrace your credit. You have to love your credit. But you have to fix your credit if it's not fixed. So in paying down debt, the quickest way to make money, people ask me, is to pay off high interest rate credit cards. Quick way to make money. If you're paying 23% and you pay it off or you pay it down, you're making 23%. And that, as good as I am, I cannot do that for you. So again, I'm looking forward to the conversation, looking forward to the dialogue, and thank you for having me.
Good afternoon. Okay, I guess I'm next. I'm actually from Rochester, New York, which is upstate, and a lot of people ask, do black people live there? And I'm here to say, yes, they do. In fact, we had a black mayor previous to our current mayor, and 33% of our population is African American. So if you haven't had an opportunity to come upstate, please do join us. As she mentioned, my name is Natalie Cofield, and I'm now the president of NMC Consulting Group. And basically what our organization strives to do is to encourage entrepreneurship amongst youth, women, and minorities. And how I got my start is I used to work for JP Chase in New York. I actually started off in a program called SEO, and I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with that. I've always had a passion for business, but I've always also had a passion for the community. And I never really could find a way to find my space in that, so to say. I felt tugged by so many different groups. On Wall Street, they don't like the community, so to say. Not to say they don't like the community, but that's soft stuff. For philanthropists and people who are interested in nonprofit, if you go the other way, you're partnering with the devil. And I wanted to find a space for myself where I could do both. I ended up doing a program called the National Urban Fellows Program, and I went to Los Angeles, and I worked for the city, and I actually started to learn more about how the city engages the business community. And I did a lot of research on communities there, and I started to see a lot of correlation between gaps in our community and entrepreneurship, and services that weren't being provided, and how people don't come back. And then I decided that I wanted to work in a city that had a large population of African Americans. So here I am in Chocolate City. And I used to work for a public-private partnership before I started my organization. And it was amazing to be able to be a resource and be of assistance to entrepreneurs and to individuals who are really kind of trying to navigate their way through this process. I think, as both of our panelists before me have mentioned, the recession has really exposed a lot of us in many different ways. Not only has it exposed us as individuals, but it has exposed the U.S. economy as well. And as individuals, I'll ask, that all of us consider, what is my brand? When you work for an organization, you kind of have the strength of saying, oh, I work for, back in the day, JP Chase, and then it meant something, or I work for so-and-so, and it means something to someone. All of a sudden, you have instant credibility, or your school kind of, identifies you in some way. But who are you when that stuff is no longer something that you can say, when you're no longer affiliated? I always like to ask people, if you're not in the room, does your resume still circulate without you there? And when I say that, what I mean is, do people know enough about the product that you produce as an individual to support you when you're not there? And that's the first step to me toward entrepreneurship, is to kind of brand yourself aside from who you work for. I work for a lot of different companies and organizations, and I always said I work for myself because I knew what I was doing. I was taking skills that I wanted to use in another arena. I'm going to kind of get into some facts about African Americans and entrepreneurships, and I'll be really quickly because I know we kind of get the tea. But I thought that these were pretty interesting, and I got them actually from our partners here at the Minority Business Development Agency. But African Americans represent 12.3% of the population. We're number 2 in terms of all minorities when it comes to business, the number of businesses that we have. But we only gross $88.6 billion in revenue. And that's against $326 billion for the Asian owned businesses and 221 billion for Hispanic-owned businesses. So we might be second in terms of the number of businesses that we're starting, right? But we're not making the revenues there, okay? So how can we close that gap? And then the Kauffman Foundation actually did a study on entrepreneurial activity. And you know what city actually has 74% of all of its adults engaged in some form of entrepreneurship? Atlanta, okay? So who are those people? Where are they? Are they African Americans? How can we fully engage ourselves into this game? Because like I say with real estate, by the time you see the crane, it's pretty much done. You can't come in on that deal. And a lot of times, by the time the stimulus money comes, by the time the federal government is really supporting it, you have to have been in the game for a while to demonstrate a competency. And I'll leave it there, but thank you.
Oh, you don't need mine.
Ms. Leon?
Yes, most people write out grocery lists and to-do lists to get errands done. Well, I basically did that my whole life. I always had notebooks with me, little notebooks, big notebooks, making all these plans from, what I had to do that day to what I planned to do after high school, go to college, what college it was, and why I was going to this college or why I was doing this major. So initially, I wanted nothing to do with entrepreneurship. I knew that I wanted to go to college. I knew that I wanted to be a biology major, go to medical school. But combined with that, I knew I wanted to be an investor. I knew I wanted to be more than just a doctor. I wanted to build a future for my children and their grandchildren. So I always wanted to be an investor, and I wrote all of those things down. And to this day, I still write all of those things down. So I kind of road mapped everything. And in combination with that, I networked. I did a lot of networking with different people. I put myself around the people who were doing what I wanted to do. I had mentors when I was in college who taught me about entrepreneurship and business ownership and investment. And so what I did when I graduated from college is I did what I usually do, got my notebook, I wrote a 10-year plan, and in the first year I wanted to own one residential home to rent out. And in the 10th year I wanted to be a hotelier. So what I did was research what African Americans and Hispanic women were owning hotels. And I found this organization called NABHOOD. I put myself around the people who were doing what I wanted to do. I graduated from college in 2003 when I made that 10-year plan. 2007, I did my first hotel deal. So the three most important things that I think in achieving success, even in this economy, are the refusal to quit when times are tough. Get creative, be bold, step out of the box. Networking and research, put yourself around the people who are doing what you want to do. And lastly, having tough skin. You got to be fearless. If you don't get the results and the answers that you want, look somewhere else. I consider myself to be such a shy person, but when it comes to getting to where I want to get to and achieving goals that I want to achieve, I'm not afraid to seek those people out who are doing what I'm doing, doing what I want to be doing. So in closing, I just encourage you to get your grocery list and your to-do list together, your notebook together, and map out your own future. Be creative, be bold.
Mr. McCall?
That's a pretty tough act to follow. As stated before, my name is Jason McCall. I'm the Special Assistant to the National Director at the Minority Business Development Agency. Not sure how many people know what the Minority Business Development Agency is, but I'll give a brief background of who we are and what we do. The Minority Business Development Agency is the only federal agency whose sole task is dedicated to the growth and development of minority-owned businesses in the United States. Now, that doesn't just mean we're going to keep you in the United States. We actually want to take you global, because this is a global economy. Now, we have been around for 40 years. We got started March 5th, 1969 by President Nixon. It started off actually as the Office of Minority Business Enterprises and has grown since then. Now, under the direction of our new National Director, David Henson, who brings over 20 years of financial experience to the table, we want to build the next $100 million minority businesses in the United States. We don't just want to stop at a growth model of saying we're good on our block. We want you to be good on the world stage, to put you in a situation to where you can acquire companies, to where you can merge and do strategic alliances with other companies and have a sustainable, continuous model of growth and build that wealth that minority businesses so much need. Now, we're a small agency compared to most, but as of last year, we did about $2 billion in total contracts and financing for minority businesses. Now, working with a very elite and I would say efficient staff, we've done about $1.9 billion year to date, and that is in this current recession. So there's a lot of hardworking people who are working in the government, working for you, trying to get your needs met. Just to break away from my notes a bit of background on me, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm not a politician. I started a business at 14 years old, a publishing company. I got into the entertainment industry at a young age and built my network. Network is key. It's all in who knows you, not who you know. You can point out anybody in this room, but if they can't recognize you, it doesn't mean a hill of beans. So I would say, look to your neighbor, look to people in this room, look to me, whomever. This is the greatest platform to build your network. Keep in contact, follow up. It will certainly be the best friend that you have as a business, as an entrepreneur moving forward. I had the wonderful pleasure of meeting President Obama before he was President Obama, and to help him build a lot of his youth initiatives that got him voted in. And coming from the entertainment industry, a lot of people said, oh, those initiatives will never work. Oh, we don't, athletes and artists only good for fundraising. Well, from the stance of a lot of young people out there who listen to a LeBron James, who listen to a Russell Simmons, they can see them as an example. They can see them as an opportunity. As this wonderful panel has alluded already, what I would say is don't let the recession bring you down. I'm an opportunist. I think I want to break out the federal government and just go back into the private sector. I feel like a handyman in a room full of shaky rocking chairs. This is such an opportunity right now with where we are. I had a conversation with James Lowry, who actually works with the Kaufman Foundation in regards to minority businesses, and he wrote a he tasked me to read his paper it's like over 800-page, like kind of paper that he did, but it speaks about how minority businesses stay in kind of an organic growth structure. We go to a bank, we get some money, we spend the money, we go back to the bank. We need to think more. Everybody in this room right now, we're a multi-trillion-dollar corporation right here. We need to be too big to fail. We need to talk to the person next to us. You never know what ideas you may have that you can match up. If it doesn't seem like it match up, find a way. I'm a canned person. If a door closed, I go through the wall. So I would ask in here who's got a hammer, and then I'll conclude that way.
Thank you, panelists, for your comments. I noticed one theme across most of what all of you have talked about, and one thing that you've repeatedly mentioned is the importance of networks. And I know that everyone here knows that networking is very important. You have to network to get somewhere. You have to network to be successful. But I think a lot of us often don't know how to translate the concept of networking into real opportunities. And so what I want to ask each of you to do is just spend a little more time breaking down for us the reality of networking and how it actually works. And anyone can go first.
Sure, I'll actually take that one. We just had our 26th National Minority Enterprise Development Week conference. We had over 1,500 minority businesses from around the world come into one area in DC. Networking begins with the follow-up. It doesn't start with the card. It doesn't start with the conversation. It begins with the follow-up. Until you start to build that relationship, you can't think about moving forward past that. You follow up once, you send that email, you follow up again 2 weeks later, you follow up again 2 weeks later. You may feel like you're being a nuisance, but they will remember you and never forget you. And if, as I said, it's all in who knows you. And you never know if that person may say, you know what, an opportunity came up and this guy just keeps calling me. Let me call him because it matches what he does in his industry and his field. So I would certainly say my point into this basket would be follow-up.
I actually wanted to make a couple comments too. Some may not be so politically correct, but as a young woman, networking is an interesting situation to be in, and I'm just going to be honest about that. And the strategies that I have used to kind of navigate my way through that process, see, it's different for us women, and I see the ladies in the crowd shaking their heads. You understand, you identify. I've had people come talk to me networking. I've gone to talk to them, and I have been networking, okay? But I would say this. Professionalism is so powerful. It is so powerful. And as I have gotten older and gotten more secure, so to say, because you have to be secure to navigate through what networking is and what networking is. And you have to hold yourself professionally because you are also part of that process, okay? Again, your resume circulates in the room, whatever that resume is, okay? And I think you all understand exactly where I'm going with that. I would also say this too. Something that has been very beneficial to me, and I often joke with my friends, I felt like I was part of every acronymed African-American organization you could think of. Inroads, SEO, DST, MLT, NUF, you name it. And I would say, well, why do I keep doing this? Look at these programs. But the more programs I participated in as a young person, the more programs I found out about. And then I found myself becoming this invaluable resource to not only myself, but to my friends as well. And it was through the network of these communities. So I would encourage you, HBCU, that's another one. I went to Howard. Yeah, it's through these networks that I really feel like you start the process of kind of developing relationships with people who know you as a professional woman. And then lastly, I'll say, if you go to industry association events and you attend networking events, the more often you go, the more familiar you become. Because if anybody goes to a lot of events, they know you start looking for that familiar face in the room because you're tired of seeing this, you're tired of that. So you just want to kind of have your group and you start talking to them. If you can find yourself into that group, you've done yourself a big favor.
And to piggyback on a couple statements that were made, one, we did a study, because we do a lot of networking in my business, is 90%, just to piggyback, 90% of people don't go past the first contact. 96% of people don't go past the second contact. I ask people for their money for a living, and usually my first answer is always no. I expect no. If you didn't say no, I think something was wrong with you. I thought my name was No at one point, and I still do sometimes. But the point is you have to be that persistence to network in the right room. As much as I loved when I was younger, and I started this business when I was 23, to hang out with my friends from college, me networking in a room with my friends from college was not going to make me a wealth management advisor. Maybe in 40 years, but not in the short term. So you want to make sure when you're networking where people can help you. You're networking in the right places. And lastly, is that you want to, I always say I do my social volunteer networking. That is when I volunteer for organizations in which I have a passion. I love helping children. So the Boys and Girls Club, volunteer. Who's on the board? Centers of influence. People you want to meet in your community, and you have one thing in common, that you all both have a passion for helping children. People do business with people they like. Okay, they have to like you before they can do business with you. So again, those are just a few of my little things on networking.
And I'd just like to throw in there that if you could imagine just coming out of college and trying to network with people who are owning hotels. These people are in their 40s, 50s, 60s even. And me coming in there, 20-something years old, I had to have some kind of professionalism about myself to show them that I was serious about this, that I was coming in as an investor and not someone who was trying to be in the hospitality industry. What's so funny to me is that my senior year of college, I worked at the Marriott Marquis. And now I'm getting ready to speak at the Marriott Marquis on October 6th as a partner in the Hilton Hampton Inn and Marriott Courtyard. But it was because of the networking that I did and because they knew that I was serious about being a hotelier and not just, there to kind of be in the hospitality industry. So it's really important that you show your seriousness, that you show up and you network and you follow up. I found myself on the Hispanic panel of the National Association of the Hispanic portion of NABHOOD before I even made my first hotel deal as part of networking, just because they knew I was serious and they looked at me already as a hotelier.
Let me jump in with this conversation in terms of our life in the empowerment experiment is dealing with small business owners. So I can talk to you the way these people have in terms of my being a professional, how I achieved my personal success through the networking. But my message is to those entrepreneurs that we're encountering every day. What's special about our project is that we are a middle-class family with upscale tastes, with the wherewithal and the desire and the intent to live off black business. What's so special about that is most of the folks, the black folks, in our position aren't doing that. The ones that shop with black business have to shop with black business because they live in those underserved communities that we're trying to uplift. A lot of folks like me and my husband, we don't live in those struggling communities anymore. Nothing's wrong with that, but we can't forget about them. In my life in this year in the experiment, I have been spending a lot of my time in those communities, finding those gems, those wonderful businesses, those unsung heroes, those entrepreneurs who are giving back to the kids, those community leaders with awesome businesses that I feel so honored to now have the opportunity to support. But had I not done the experiment, wouldn't have known anything about them. Now, because of the folks I roll with, because I'm a member of Black MBA and all those groups that my esteemed panel member mentioned, because I'm in all those groups, I share those experiences with them. The problem that we've seen in our life in the empowerment experiment is that, yeah, there's a lot of networking going on, but there's too many cliques and pockets in our own community. There's a lot of good, hardworking folks who are just as smart as all of us, but they're struggling and they're still in the hood. They don't even know about the Congressional Black Caucus Conference. They don't know about Black MBA. They don't know if they were here and I were to tell them about this wonderful black-owned grocery store in the middle of the South Side selling organic produce. It's a black-owned Whole Foods. My friends will be flocking to that place. But he doesn't know about my friends. We're cliques. So I've been taking that entrepreneur to meetings like this. I've been exposing him to all of you. And that's how we help his business grow. But it has to be a two-way street. We have to be more welcoming to those other parts, those other networks in our community who are trying to do the right thing, but they're not up here yet. And they don't have all the credentials and the cachet that most of us have here. But they are the key to survival in our communities. They are the 2 or 3 out of the 100 business owners in those black communities that are all owned by other people. There are 2 or 3 that have the role models that our kids are looking to. We need to make them 5 and 6 and 10 and 12. And that's not going to happen unless these networks bridge with those networks. In the empowerment experiment, that's my life. And I have thousands of folks signing up for the empowerment experiment who want to live this life too. My challenge to all of you is how much time are you going to spend? I'm not asking you to dedicate your life to it. Reaching out to those folks, finding those gems, spending your money with them so that our kids can have more role models coming right out of those south sides and west sides, the ones that can't come here and don't even know that this exists.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson, you actually highlight some of the realities and challenges that come with putting on that entrepreneur hat. And I actually want to ask you to just tell us a little bit more about the experiment and actually how you identified black businesses, because one thing that we could also say is, unfortunately, we all might, sometimes stereotype the quality of our own African American black businesses, and that's a barrier that we need to get past. And so, you chose this experiment, you decided to pursue it. How were you able to, because we're talking about everything, you're talking about groceries, clothing, doing your hair, makeup.
Everything.
How did you do that?
Now, and I'm sure all of you share my paradigm, but we work from the paradigm that black business and talent, goods and services are among the best in the world. So we don't start working from the paradigm that our businesses and goods are inferior, and let me support black business as a favor to my community. You can't approach it that way. So we came from that paradigm, but then the challenge is, okay, I've been living in my white suburb, going to all of the businesses owned by other people in my community. I shop the way most Americans shop, out of convenience. How do we even get started? And some of it was literally driving through those underserved communities that we want to help, the south side of Chicago, the west side of Chicago, kind of doing a door-to-door thing. The problem with that was, and I'm not expecting you to do that, the problem with that was, that's when we learned that most of the businesses in those 100% black communities are not black-owned. They're Asian-owned, white-owned, Hispanic-owned, Arab-owned, Indian from India-owned, and that was the heartbreak. So it was a heartbreaking challenge, but it became easier to find those one or two black-owned businesses. There's one black-owned dollar store in Chicago. There's one black-owned grocery store. So once you put yourself out there, I want to find that one. It wasn't that hard. But the advice I like to give to folks is make the calls that you never make with these organizations that you know about. Most of my quality black businesses that I live off of, I still get my hair done, I still get my nails done, I eat great food, we go to nice restaurants, is from, Chicago Urban League, our local chamber. Those folks are there as a resource. I promise you that most of the folks in this room have not made a call to those organizations. That's the first place to go. They know, but they spend most of their time trying to grow black businesses, trying to be a resource for up-and-coming entrepreneurs. They would love to be spending a lot of that time taking calls from you, saying, hi, I want to support black businesses. Can you get me a good plumber? That's what we did, and we got a great plumber. That's what we did, and we got a great guy to fix our refrigerator, fix our air conditioner, fix our house, all the stuff that we need, a bank, all of that. We started with the Urban League, and it was so easy. And then when we went to that black bank, and it was this wonderful experience, because first of all, you're giving your money to an organization that's gonna help your community, a business that's gonna help your community grow, but then you have that sense of accomplishment when you come out. I didn't give any money to UNCF. I didn't participate in a protest. I'm a mommy. It's hard for me to do that kind of stuff. But I did something for my community just by starting that checking account. And I started that checking account just because I called my local Chicago Urban League. And I know their number by heart because I call them all the time. But they've made this experiment so much easier. You have tons of great black businesses in your community, but you got to make the call first. Don't be inhibited by the stereotype. And I promise you, once you find your bank, or that grocery store you didn't know about, or that convenience store that you didn't know about, or that black-owned Dunkin' Donuts that you didn't know about, you'll find something else. And you'll be in that posse, and you'll learn about all these great entrepreneurs right in your community that hang out together, that try to support one another, and you'll be part of a group that's making a difference in your community. Just make those calls. And my last tip, call these franchises that keep bragging about how much they support franchisee diversity. Some of them do, some of them don't. But my wallet is full of gift cards. I go to Citgo and BP. There's one black Citgo, one black BP. I give those black business owners my money. They send me a gift card. I can go to any BP, any Citgo.
Ms. Anderson?
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I just was about to pull the Sandman on you, but you're good. Okay.
So the franchise strategy is very good. Once you find one black owner, start using gift cards, and you can support that black business, help them grow, but you can you can support black and still be convenient.
Thank you. I'm going to ask some more targeted questions to our panelists, and the first is for Jason McCall. I wanted to ask if you could tell our audience some more about, because I know one of the questions people have about the Stimulus Act that passed earlier this year is, where is the money, when's it coming? Some of us see it trickling down, and for the MBDA, it appears that this is a real opportunity for many aspiring and current minority business owners. And so the question is there money coming to MBDA, and how can it help aspiring and current minority business owners?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. I'm going to say it this way. If most of you don't remember, it was $787 billion that was passed earlier this year, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act by President Obama to stimulate the economy. And I do get asked that question quite often. Where's the money? When is it coming out? The money is going out. It's going out actually in 3 phases. One phase is actually coming to completion. The money comes from the federal government, then it goes to your state and local government. And actually, I have a breakdown here of how they spent the 700 or want to spend the money. 288 billion went into tax relief for all Americans. 111 billion goes for infrastructure and science. 53 billion for education and training. 144 billion in state and local government fiscal relief, 59 billion in healthcare, and 43 billion in energy. Now, you know, most people look at the federal government and they say that exact question I just stated: where's the money? How can I get it from you? 80% of the Recovery Act money went to the state and local governments. The state and local governments are the people who are distributing this money to the minority business owners or business owners in general. From the federal government stance, we have to get this money out to you. We have to get it in the places that need it. What we need is, because we're doing it from a 50,000-foot viewpoint, we need people on the ground, people like you, who see, hey, my neighborhood's not getting it, so you tell your congressman, you tell your district representative. You have to speak to the people you elect in office. Government works for you. I work for you. You pay my salary. Thank you. But you have to remember, government works for you. You don't work for government. Government doesn't dictate to you what you should do. You dictate the government how to help me. So you have to really state how, you know, hey, how can you help me get what I need? And if one voice is too shrill, get 200 more that's singing the same song. Get it to the people who need to be reelected in 2010. Tell them, hey, you know what? This is a concern. I'm in Southeast DC and we don't see any stimulus coming here. Show that targeting. We need that targeting. The president will tell you, I'll tell you. We are not the smartest people in the world. We need that education of where this money should be going. Now, to be more specific to my agency, I'm putting my politician hat on here. My agency has done some reallocation of funds in order to get minority businesses more, I'm going to say, involved in the Recovery Act. And I'm going to sidestep for a second. One misconception is that minority businesses are completely left out of the Recovery Act. That is just not true. It's not true if you're only looking for opportunities that have a big banner that says minority business. If you want business opportunities, they're everywhere. Business opportunities are all throughout the Recovery Act. They're there. Now, there are certain steps that you need to be prepared. I mean, just like anything, you have to come prepared. You don't go to a job interview in your sneakers and your shorts thinking you're going to get it. You have to be prepared. You have to know what the rules and the regulations are to get what you want. Some of the things that are just good to know for what minority businesses should do, you should be registered on the Central Contracting Registry. It's CCR. The government loves acronyms. Please excuse me. You can go to www.ccr.gov, G-O-V. If you're already registered there, make sure that your profile is updated. It's just like Facebook. We've seen them pictures 2 years ago. We want some new ones. So make sure that your profile is updated so people know what's going on with you, where you are, how you've matured as a business. People like to know the current information. You can also go to my agency's website, mbda.gov. That's mbda.gov. We have what we call a Phoenix Opportunity Matching System. One of the greatest things about this agency is that we take a minority business and an opportunity and we match them together. Whether you're the minority business or whether you're the opportunity. You know, I'm not one to just say I'm matching minority businesses with minority businesses. I'm matching a business with an opportunity, whether it's Exxon, Walmart, Wendy's International, you know, Pookie's Hair Salon, doesn't matter. I'm getting you an opportunity as a business that just happened to be minority owned. Actually, I would like for people to start saying that, business that are minority owned. I'm a writer and people put too much emphasis on the word minority. It just pretty much denigrates you and your business automatically. It puts you in a box. I'm a business. Magic Johnson, Bob Johnson, Sheila Johnson, any million-dollar business, billion-dollar business that's owned by a minority would never tell you they're a minority business. One other thing I would say is go to some of the government websites that are out there, recovery.gov, FedBizOps or FBO.gov, and grants.gov. These are information sources. They show you where these opportunities are. Now, a lot of people in this room probably say, yeah, we heard that. We've gotten this information. We've been there, still got no contract. Well, that's where the follow-up comes in. You have to keep people who are on these lists, people who are in these areas, people who update their profile, get these contracts. The government is very stagnant. They go with their rules and regulations. You know, they just consistent as they want to be. And they're going to pick out of that list. They're not going to change because you don't like it. So you have to go with what the structure is there. And as I stated before, MBDA redirected $900,000 in regards to program funding for Recovery Act efforts. And what we're doing right now, we've actually been speaking a lot, and I know I'm kind of long-winded here.
30 seconds.
But we've been working with the Vice President's office because the President deemed the Vice President the Recovery Act czar. I hate to say it in that stance, but the Vice President has looked at the Department of Commerce Secretary Gary Locke, as well as Administrator Mills from the Small Business Administration and National Director of MBDA David Henson to kind of get businesses more included in what the Recovery Act has going on with it, whether it's information, whether it's education, whether it's financing. One of the things I'll go back to is you guys need to let us know what you need. We can put out a big smorgasbord, but if you're a vegetarian, it's all gonna go to waste. Tell us what we need to do to help you. So I would say be vocal with your state and local governments, talk to them, be vocal with your federal government. Tell us what you need. Be educated, update your status, your profile. Make sure that you're registered everywhere that you need to be. And that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Cofield, you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of those comments. I don't know if you all have this yet, but this guide for entrepreneurship talks a little bit about the process of becoming certified and of contracting. And in the district, we like to call it the license to hunt. Doesn't mean you're going to catch anything, but it gives you the opportunity to start hunting for something. And then we also, in this guide, talk a little bit about financing opportunities that are available through the SBA, and so I'm just making my plug.
Copies of this guide are available outside on the table, so please feel free to pick up a copy. I have a question for Mr. Boyd, Ms. Cofield, and Ms. Leon. And my question is, a lot of small businesses have not weathered this storm through this financial crisis. A lot of big businesses have not weathered the storm. And so each of you are doing something differently, but I did want to ask how you were able to weather the storm when others have not been able to, and what skills were particularly useful for you, most effective?
To me, I would say weathering the storm for us, when the markets are down, my pay is down. But when the markets are down in my industry, a lot of people go by the wayside. A lot of businesses, a lot of advisors do fail. And there's still a need. What I would say is that when you're out here and you're looking for, and I guess your business is down, revenues are down, if the need is still there, first you have to be in the right industry. If you're in an industry where the need is still there and you have less people, that equals opportunity. Change brings about opportunity. So what we've done in our case is that we went back to the basics. As I said earlier, most of our referrals, most people come to us through referral. We don't do a lot of prospecting. My partner and I, we're revisiting prospecting. We're revisiting going out and actively looking for new business. In good times, and we've had good times from 02 to 07 in my industry, business walked in the door. What you have to realize is that business is going to not going to walk in the door anymore. You have to go hunt for it. It requires a little more work. What we've seen, we work with a lot of business owners. The ones that have been successful and have made it through this had a couple things going for them. They had some savings. One of the things we talked about earlier is going back to building a foundation of building a savings and investment plan. That is so important because going forward, we also work for a bank. Bank of America owns Merrill Lynch. The banks are going to require you to have skin in the game. You're going to have some capital to bring to the table along with your ideas. You're going to have good credit to get access. So again, in times like these, you want to re-up your skill level. You want to double down on your efforts to attract new business. You want to refine your product. Because remember, and you want to make sure you're in the right industry. If you sell mortgages for a living, you are now out of a job. And the worst thing is to keep going to the same place expecting where the cheese used to be. If you ever read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? I love that book, and I suggested you all read it, and I read it several times a year to remind myself, sometimes when the opportunity goes somewhere else, you have to go somewhere else. So if you were doing mortgages and you were selling houses and that slowed, where's the next opportunity? Money always moves. That's one thing we always say. Money's always in motion. You just got to get in front of it. So you got to figure out where the money's moving, get over yesterday, and put yourself in the way of success.
For me, I just got more creative. This wasn't the time to get frustrated and give up. It was the time to get more creative. There's only one of me, but I do have a manager. I do have a crew. So I went to them and I said, listen, this is the situation. I need you guys to pull your resources. I've been doing this by myself. I know there's just me. There's more of you, and I know you guys are a part of organizations and just different things that you can bring to the table. And that's how I was able to sustain my ice cream business. With the other businesses, I went out and I got these people. I took them by the hand and said, "Come on, come over here. Let's see what we can work out for you."
I think organizations like mine are given birth in times like this. What I do is business development, and I encourage entrepreneurship. And in times like this, when many of our big guys have gone under, we're looking for some of the smaller guys to grow into these larger organizations. We're looking for solutions and programs to assist our young people in school and to encourage entrepreneurship. In the district, we have about 6,000 ex-offenders that join back into our community every year, 6,000. And employing them in businesses becomes such a huge political situation. How can we further empower them? Many of them are learning trades while they're in prison. What kind of programming can we do to encourage them? How can we encourage young people? And then lastly, with the public affairs piece, what I have found is that a lot of entrepreneurs may be great at what they do. If you create widgets, you're great at creating widgets, but you just are not interested in the networking part. And your business will go nowhere if you don't have a face. someone to kind of be the business development person for you when you're not interested in doing that. And so I think, business is good.
And also, I just wanted to say one more thing. Most people are in business to be in business, and they're not in the customer service business.
Right.
But every business at this time needs to be in the customer service business, and you need to honor those people who are patronizing your business, big or small. And that's something else, another point that I drove home to my crew members and people that I'm in business with.
And just to add one more statement, is that sometimes you have to realize it's not your season. This is not the time for your business idea to flourish. And sometimes we tell our entrepreneurs, you have to go back to work, which an entrepreneur hates to hear, back to a job. Okay, entrepreneur is more than work. But you have to go back and get a job. You have to go back and you have to kind of reorganize. But while you do that, what you don't want to do, and what we're seeing a lot of in my industry, is that people are spending down their assets. You're stuck. You're stuck in a certain place and you refuse to move on because you're thinking, things will change sooner than they may. And they may or they may not. But in the meantime, in some cases, the best advice is just to go back and get a regular, good old per hour job or salary until your season comes back around.
I wanted to follow up with that, Mr. Boyd, because one of the downsides of this financial crisis is that a lot of people are very mistrustful of the financial industry. And so I wanted to ask you to talk some more about where African Americans fit in this. For example, what percentage of your clientele are African Americans, and kind of the rates of financial literacy and how that's actually crucial to being an entrepreneur.
And after that question, can you open it up to the floor?
Absolutely,
Yes.
ma'am.
I'll keep my answer short, too. I like dialogue. What was the question? No, I'm just joking. We did go through a period of mistrust, and for good reason. We had a lot of people in our industry, financial industry, doing things, and a lot of greed. Greed is an ugly thing, but you have to develop personal relationships. Our clients, 80% of our clients are African American. Okay, 80% of the organizations we represent are African American organizations, your churches, things of that nature. So we're in the African American community. And you have to have a relationship. When things started to look sour, you can believe our phones rang every day with people wanting to take their money out. And if you have a good relationship, and this is, everything is a relationship. When you're an entrepreneur, you're in a relationship business. We had good relationships. And recently, we changed firms. We were actually at a different firm, which I won't mention, about 6 months ago, made a decision to come to the Bank of America Merrill because of what was going on in the financial world. And our clients, we asked them to move with us in March. If you know anything about the markets, that was the absolute worst time that you could ask anybody to do anything financial. And they, 99% of them came with us because of a relationship. And in these tumultuous times when you had a lot of greed, they trusted us because they knew us. You got to know your clients. You got to know your customers.
My friend over here, I'm going to ask anyone who has a question to use the index card that we provided you with earlier, and if you don't have one, that's fine. We have a microphone in the center of the room right here. If you have a question or a comment for our panelists, please come up.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm a strategist. I'm based out of Philly, and my biggest challenge as an entrepreneur is a lot of the work I do is done under non-disclosure agreements. How do I market myself to expand my business?
I would say with the non-disclosure, and I said I wasn't going to do that. I got too close to the microphone. With an NDA, I would probably say that I would market yourself to that industry. You don't necessarily need to give the name of the client that you've worked with, but let's just say it's a Fortune 500 company. You could just say, I've worked with Fortune 500 companies to do XYZ, to provide XYZ type of services. There's validity in that, it's truthful, and I think the word Fortune 500 kind of rings the bell and it starts to add credibility, that brand that we're talking about, to what your business is doing. And I would also say that if you have a website, press releases on any partnership that you're doing is critically important. So you may not be able to say that you're doing work with, let's say, Verizon, but company XYZ partners with telecom organization to provide XYZ type of services. So it keeps your business fresh. It shows that you're, actively involved and engaged, and you're an expert.
This question is for Ms. Leon. As, I guess, a young person and one who is shy, how did people receive you, or how did you, I guess, present yourself in order to be seriously taken with regard to being a hotelier?
You know how, are you all familiar with Beyonce? Well, she has this character that she calls Sasha Fierce. And I kind of just flipped my collar up and got my Superwoman on,
Yes.
And even to this day, I mean, I still consider myself a shy person, but when it comes to talking about business and motivating people to do so, somehow that Superwoman comes out.
Yep.
I guess this question would be for Mr. Boyd or whoever can answer. For an individual who wants to invest about $25,000 right now, doesn't really have much debt, what do you think would be a good investment at this time for someone who's not business-minded or oriented or anything?
Okay. It's hard to give personal advice without knowing the full situation, but I will give a general answer to that. One, you always want to make sure that you have a certain amount of emergency funds put to the side. And usually that is generally 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So whatever your fixed expenses are for the month times 3 times 6, put that much in a short-term savings account or a short-term CD. Above and beyond that, you want to look at mutual funds. You want to look at mutual funds for a lot of reasons. One, in times like these when the market's down, you hear a lot of good stories. My friend put money in Fannie Mae and now it's worth, $10,000. And those kind of things can bring you in, but it's not professional management. A mutual fund gives you professional management, instant diversification. Diversification lowers your risk naturally. The more things you own, the less risk you take. And it's very low cost. Most mutual funds will manage your money for a very small fee, usually around 1% per year. And you want to kind of drip your money in. The tendency, if you've never invested, the last thing you want to do is have a very bad first experience, because we know what happens then. It kind of sits ill with you. So you drip it in. We do what's called dollar cost averaging. If you have $25,000, let's say $15,000 is your emergency fund, take the 10, and over the next year or so, just kind of drip it in. Use a systematic investment plan to kind of put the money in over time. That does two things. One, it gets you used to it, because it's something you've never done. And two, it allows you to average your cost in. So you're buying all the time. So if the market goes high, you're buying less. The market goes low, you're buying more. That's a great way to start investing.
So that, for about 6 months, do that? Is that what
6 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the 1 year. There's no rush. I mean, you'll be investing for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you want to take your time.
That versus buying foreclosures would probably be better?
Now, that's my other business. Like she said, she is the, the other character. I have the real estate investor guy. I'm here from Merrill Lynch today, right? But no.
I'll get your business card.
Okay.
Thank you.
But those can work.
Do any of our panelists have a response for that question or comment? Okay, next person.
Good evening. My name is Eugene Marsh. I'm the president of Construction Project Management Services headquarters in Princeton, New Jersey. I want to thank the dais for the opportunity to discuss the overall program regarding minority businesses. My first question is this: as a minority certified firm, has the certification helped or hindered minority businesses to do work with the federal government?
I think that has helped it. One thing that we're working on right now is a unified certification process. There are a lot. There are plenty on the federal level, there are plenty on the state and local level. We are certainly, as a federal agency, working to rectify that situation. I think it gives a kind of a regulatory oversight for businesses. You don't just want any business just to kind of come in. You want them to have all of their ducks in a row. I think the certification process assists in that. Now, we don't want it to be abusive in any manner. So that's why we're kind of working on a better structure that can be more unified across the nation.
Anyone else can address that question?
I mean, I would say that it helps you. Again, I think it's a license to hunt. I mean, if you can properly, but part of this, getting on the schedule just allows you to start playing. But again, you have to properly market yourself once you're on the schedule. I'm correct with that?
That is very correct.
You know, a lot of people think that once they get certified, the deal is done. The business will be coming to me immediately, but it's just like any other game, business development. You have to be out there and marketing it yourself.
I understand, and that's a two-part question, or two-part concern. My firm is a construction management company, one of the second largest African American firms in the Northeast region. I am a certified 8A firm, and I have certification throughout the Northeast region, both MBE and DBE. What I'm experiencing as a construction management firm, happily owned by African American, is the fact that there's a great deal of discrimination taking place in the industry. And as minority businesses suffer through economic times, stress-wise, we are getting less and less opportunities of being afforded to compete for contracts. So I vary the question on certification as one answer, because it does separate those who are legitimate versus those who are not legitimate businesses. But does it require an essence of both complexity issues to address how African Americans and Latinos and people of color are being disenfranchised from opportunities on the state and federal level, whereas they say it's billions of dollars? And one of the questions, my first statement, last statement is this: under the stimulus of recovery, there was billions of dollars went out, but I understand there was no goals within the stimulus dollars, only in the transportation for shovel-ready jobs. So you talk about going to the recovery, but there's no essence of those dollars being disseminated on the local level, because we as African Americans are not invited to the table to discuss where those dollars can be spent at. So I'm trying to get the real value of the recovery, minority businesses, and the complexity that plague Black communities and Latinos from getting access to contracts.
Well, I'll be very brief in that response, and I'll follow up with you and introduce you to some local, well, actually one of our regional offices that can help you out more specifically. But just to repeat what I said earlier, don't put yourself in the space of just being a minority business. You don't need a set aside in the Recovery Act. You need business opportunities that fit your size and scale. You go after the opportunities that are there. If you're a small business, a small construction firm as yourself, don't try to go for a huge nationwide billion-dollar bill. That's not your capacity. You may be a tier 1, tier 2. Be the best tier 2 you can be, and then grow from there. Don't limit your opportunities by just saying that you're looking for that one line item to say, oh, I fit here, oh, I fit there. You're a construction company who has a capacity. Yeah. Find your lane, and I would say keep knocking on that lane until you can play in a bigger lane. But certainly I'll get you my card and get you to someone who can help you with those opportunities.
Sorry. I just want to say one thing too about joint venturing. I know that's something that you all really encourage. A lot of our organizations and businesses don't necessarily have the capacity to compete against some of these larger companies. And I really do encourage not only networking, but networking and joint venturing with each other, and not looking at each other as competition. And not that this is applicable to you, but I'm just saying I think we really need to do more collaboration and partnering in terms of our business together, and that's how we will grow.
That's a great point. Strategic alliances will take you far.
Yes.
If you say, I'm a small business and I want to compete with Boeing, get 10 other small businesses, make a memorandum of understanding between all of you, and compete for that contract for Boeing. I mean, you just got to find a way to make it happen. All the opportunity is right there, and you just have to find a way to make it work for you.
Can we have our next question?
Hi, my name is Candace Batts. This question's for Mr. Boyd. My question basically is, how do you feel about young women and young people in general getting into the financial services business and during this recession time? I mean, I currently work at Smith Barney, and I'm an assistant there. And, you know, at this time, these training programs are closing and becoming few and far between, in addition to not there being a lot of big banks to work at anymore. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, plenty of thoughts. Just so you know, Merrill Lynch will be reopening their training program in January. They've made a commitment to hire, 1,500 new advisors. in my region alone, which is the Mid-Atlantic region. So they did freeze it, and we're opening them back up. And you'll see other firms open them back up also because, you know, when we went through this kind of downsizing, you know, we cut the fat. You know, advisors are very profitable in what we do almost from day one because we don't get salaries. That's why I say I am an entrepreneur. We don't get a salary. You're paid what you make. So in that respect, we're not very expensive employees. So they'll be opening those back up very soon. And I think it is a great opportunity for African American woman. And we have an African American woman on our team who's just gone through her 4th year of training. And it's a great opportunity. There's less than 1% of the financial advisors in the country are African American. So you can imagine what that number is for African American women. Most of our individual clients are African American women. And even if they're married, our clients are African American women because the women control the financial decisions most of the time. So, and I see that trend increasing. Again, I've been doing it 14 years, and you have women, just in general, having more wealth. Women are better savers, excuse me, men, but it's just the truth. Women are better savers, women are great clients. So, looking for someone like yourself. When you're looking for a financial advisor, sometimes you're looking for someone who's like you. And I think it's a great opportunity for an African American woman. Now, I will say it is extremely, if you work at Smith Barney, you know very well, it's extremely hard. And we actually have another young lady, African American lady, who's just started maybe a year ago, and she's going through the prospecting phase. And it's tough. It's tough for us after 14 years getting new people. But like I said, it is a business where money's moving. People are going to retire. People want to build wealth. Kids have to go to college. People have to save money. So it's going to be there. It's going to be increasing. So it's a great field to be in.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Emanuela St. Just, and I have a question more so on, how law firms have a certain amount of pro bono work they have to do a year for people. And a lot of times when you start off your company, you don't have the money you need for like advertisement or things or marketing. Do the bigger companies have kind of like the same program? They have to have they do a certain amount of free work for like kind of small companies? Because I know you go to networking events, you meet people, and you kind of, get them to kind of just trade off services. But kind of if you want to go after the larger companies for like this just advertisement alone, do they have that same kind of program set up? Does anybody know?
From my experience with this, they really only work with nonprofit organizations. Most large for-profit companies that are doing pro bono work or kind of trying to be more engaged in the community, if you're a business, they'll give you some small business loans. They'll work with you that way. But they're looking for nonprofit organizations. Are you trying to partner with them, to work with them, or are you just kind of looking for additional services from them? Well, that's where the network comes in. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. The network comes in there. A friend, a college dorm mate, a line sister, a frat brother, an HBCU grad. I mean, my belief is that as African Americans, as educated African Americans, as progressive and educated African Americans, there's really only 2 degrees of separation between me and you right now. And so I'm sure if you express to someone that you are interested in starting your own business, oh, I just happen to know a lawyer. Oh, I just happen to know a tax accountant that can help you out with that. And they may not be able to do it for you for free, but they can sure enough give you a discount. And that's a testimony from my own experience.
And also, I'm on the board of the Entrepreneur Advisory Board at the University of Baltimore. A lot of the local colleges have resource centers. I know we have one in the University of Baltimore where they have students work on your work. Accounting, bookkeeping, advertising, marketing. And what you get the students usually in this case, in our case, it is free. They want the experience, they want the work, they want the kind of real world experience, and you need the help. And in some cases, those relationships have moved on where the student graduated and started a business, and they had already a set of clients, so the students are happy to do the work and show their talent, and plus they get something real life they've done, and you get the services. So most colleges and universities have these entrepreneurial programs, entrepreneurial resource centers that you can use and take advantage of.
And a lot of that is, again, plug in this book. There's a chapter in this publication called Resources, and it actually talks about universities, SBDCs, all of that kind of stuff. So I would definitely take a look at chapter 5.
Do we have any more questions, comments?
I do want to
Oh, I'm
answer.
sorry. I didn't see
It was
that.
one of the young lady's question in reference to foreclosures. And I said a joke, but I do have an answer for you. And I want to bring that up only because a lot of times in the African-American community, real estate is a very popular investment. And real estate can make you wealthy. A lot of African-Americans that we've come across that have wealth have at some point in time or still invest in real estate. But if you remember, another word I said was diversify. If you're taking $25,000 and putting it all into real estate, it's the wrong thing. Just as if you were taking $25,000 and putting it all in Microsoft, it's the wrong thing. If you're taking 5 or 10 grand of your 25, and this exactly, I don't see her, this example, and you're doing a real estate project, that's a good investment. That could be a great investment. Of course, there's a lot of homework that goes to doing foreclosures, but if you're using a small portion of your money and not all of your money to do it, it could be a very good investment.
Most large for-profit companies that are doing pro bono work or kind of trying to be more engaged in the community, if you're a business, they'll give you some small business loans. They'll work with you that way. But they're looking for nonprofit organizations. Are you trying to partner with them, to work with them, or are you just kind of looking for additional services from them? Well, that's where the network comes in. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. The network comes in there. A friend, a college dorm mate, a line sister, a frat brother, an HBCU grad. I mean, my belief is that as African Americans, as educated African Americans, as progressive and educated African Americans, there's really only 2 degrees of separation between me and you right now. And so I'm sure if you express to someone that you are interested in starting your own business, oh, I just happen to know a lawyer. Oh, I just happen to know a tax accountant that can help you out with that. And they may not be able to do it for you for free, but they can sure enough give you a discount. And that's a testimony from my own experience.
And also, I'm on the board of the Entrepreneur Advisory Board at the University of Baltimore. A lot of the local colleges have resource centers. I know we have one in the University of Baltimore where they have students work on your work, accounting, bookkeeping, advertising, marketing, and what you get the students usually in our case, it is free. They want the experience, they want the work, they want the kind of real world experience, and you need the help. And in some cases, those relationships have moved on where the student graduated and started a business, and they had already a set of clients, so the students are happy to do the work and show their talent, and plus they get something real life they've done, and you get the services. So most colleges and universities have these entrepreneurial programs, entrepreneurial resource centers that you can use and take advantage of.
And a lot of that is, again, plug in this book. There's a chapter in this publication called Resources, and it actually talks about universities, SBDCs, all of that kind of stuff. So I would definitely take a look at chapter 5.
Do we have any more questions, comments?
I do want to
Oh, I'm
answer.
sorry. I didn't see
It was
that.
one of the young lady's question in reference to foreclosures. And I said a joke, but I do have an answer for you. And I want to bring that up only because a lot of times in the African-American community, real estate is a very popular investment. And real estate can make you wealthy. A lot of African-Americans that we've come across that have wealth have at some point in time or still invest in real estate. But if you remember, another word I said was diversify. If you're taking $25,000 and putting it all into real estate, it's the wrong thing. Just as if you were taking $25,000 and putting it all in Microsoft, it's the wrong thing. If you're taking 5 or 10 grand of your 25, and this exactly, I don't see her, this example, and you're doing a real estate project, that's a good investment. That could be a great investment. Of course, there's a lot of homework that goes to doing foreclosures, but if you're using a small portion of your money and not all of your money to do it, it could be a very good investment.
Any other comments or questions? What I'd like to ask our panelists, oh, one more, sorry. Come on down.
2 more.
Hi. I noticed it's a panel basically geared toward
Jackie Bird. She was the one who gave me the bone marrow transplant.
Save a life while you can in your lifetime.